by adding just one line of code here before loading the image. We can do std. So here we just added one line of code. stp image, stp I for image, set flipped vertically on load is true. So basically before we load the image, we flip the image. So image itself, texture itself doesn't get flipped during rendering. So now it should be upside down, basically spread out. As you can see, it is. We can't really tell the difference because of the image we are using is very bad. Obviously we need to use a different image. We can change it. I have a different image. Container awesome. I'm gonna use that one. Awesome face. Awesome face. So right now I'm using different image. So using this image is gonna throw an error. Awesome face.png. Yes, so the spelling is correct. So right now if I use it, then this is gonna throw an error. As you can see, it's not exactly throwing error, it's just not loading up. And image is not loading up as it's supposed to be. Like previous image, this image is just well parked. And to fix this, we need to tell OpenGL the right color channels for this. For example, not for example, here, as you can see, it's a specified RGB, but for this one, we need RGBA. So let's do RGBA, and now it will load perfectly fine. Yeah, as you can see, it's perfectly fine and loading up. And the reason why it did that weird thing before is because this image has extra alpha, red, green, blue color, and additional extra, that is alpha, because it has transparency. The image is only this one, this black part, it doesn't have it, it's transparent. So basically it has extra alpha, so we need to specify that this image also contains alpha. If this image would not have this extra transparent part, if this full image have complete image instead of any transparent part, then it would be red, green, blue with no alpha. So we can just specify RGB and it will work just fine. So this is the kind of thing that you have to kind of pay attention to. And now I wanna, we are right now not displaying the colors, we are only displaying the textures, but I wanna display the textures as well as the colors, because why not? And this is our color, and color is constantly changing, this one, before we did that. So what I want to do is use this color and this texture as well. So to do that, it's very easy actually. All you do is this texture, the exact same thing, we multiply this thing with this vector of colors, and that's it. It just looks big, but it's just one color, two color, and three color. You can have it like physical values, not physical. You can have it like manual values, or you can have it like how I have set color dot blah blah blah. It looks a bit weird and gross, but it works just fine. You can copy it if you want. If not, then a space and cross. We just multiply the texture with color, and it will work. And that's it. As you can see, we have texture and color. Yeah, there it is, and it's changing color because, well, color is constantly changing. That's how I set it. We can have it as a static, but this is fine. We don't need static because static is just going to be red, green, blue. But now, as I have said, it has red, green, blue, and the intensity is increasing and decreasing. So we can have another texture on top of it. We can do that, and in order to do that, we have to create another texture object and load another image that, and bind it, and again display it using the exact same texture coordinate on top of it. So let's do that. We're going to have two images stacked up on top of each other and the RGB color. And to do that, I'm going to do some code, and I'm going to explain after that, after what I did. So until then, enjoy. So as you can see, the both images are spread up. They're not vertically flipped. The words are horizontally flipped, but as you can see, they're not vertically flipped, and both images are overlapping each other as it's supposed to be. And I only specified 0.2%, so they're only mixing about 0.2%. That's why one is more transparent and other is not so much. So we kind of get to see this happy face container because of that. If I do 100%, then both of them will be mixing completely. So the smile face will literally overlap the container and hide it. And let me just show it to you. Instead of 0.2, I'm going to do 1.0 and run. And as you can see, it completely overlaps it. And that one we cannot see it. And if I do 0.5, then both of them gonna be half and half mixed. So this part of this image is well dark, basically black. So container, it's overlapping the container. So container is it is in this image it's dark, and this is the image as you can see. So 0.2 looks much better, and that's why I chose that color. 0.2 looks better, that's why I chose this value. As you can see, we can see both colored just fine, and black part is way less here now. So this is better than before. And let me explain what I did in all the code. Previously, I only had one texture, but here I have second texture, texture 1 and texture 2. And here it's the exact same thing, the texture 1. I just renamed the variable to texture 1 instead of just texture. But here I'm creating texture 2. It's the exact same thing with texture 2. Just loading different image and specifying the different formats here. Because this image has alpha, so it's RGBA. And notice that we can still use the exact same variable as before and load into the exact same data it had, and that's why we freed it before. So as you can see here, we are freeing this is one because we are using the exact same variables. Here in this variable, we are first loading this image and then we are freeing it here, so we can load the second image. We are loading the second image in the exact same variable. Let's say I'm not declaring it again, I'm just using the exact same and loading it again using the exact same width, height, and number of channels, because well, we already used previous image width and height and number of color channel is just useless. We are not using it right now. So we already used this, so we don't need whatever values it has. So we can just overwrite whatever values it has with the new value. And that's exactly what we're doing over here. And then we're checking again if we open the image or not. Exact same thing, just different RGB instead of RGBA instead of RGB. It's the exact same thing, and sign byte, generating bitmap in the last, and then filling the image again because we again no longer need it. And in case if we need a third image, then we can do the exact same thing, and we'll use the exact same variable for loading that image as well. And notice what I'm doing here is in these two, we are basically telling OpenGL to we are telling OpenGL to these two texture we created, texture 1 and texture 2, to link them with each texture, texture 1 and texture 2 simpler. Notice that we're first activating it, because the reason why we're activating it is because in order to set the uniform, we have to first get the uniform location, and to get the uniform location, we need to get a activate the shader program, and that's why we here used shader program first, and then we get the location and the uniform name, which is texture 1, and bind it with 0, which is 0 is here. I assigned 0 to be texture 1 and texture 1 to be texture 2. So texture 1 of texture 1, this object, and texture 2 object get assigned to the uniform of texture 1 and texture 2, which is 0 and 1 here. And inside it, I'm just binding it and activating it. Activate texture 0, this one, and bind the texture 1 with a texture buffer. And again, activate texture 1 and bind texture 2. And that's it. And we are doing here absolutely nothing. What we are doing with the fragment setup, we are using the mix function. This is again the built-in function we get in the fragment setup. We can use this to mix two textures, like I'm doing here, texture 1 and texture 2. This is the texture function, also built in. Same thing as this one. Okay, this is everything's right, I think. So here I'm just passing texture 1 and the coordinate. I'm keeping the coordinate exactly the same, obviously, because we have just one texture, and this is the texture 2, and just mixing them together to display them with certain ratio, which is I'm using 0.2. So we only have 0.2%. 0.2% of the texture 2 mixed in the texture 1. That's how we are displaying it. If we have 0, then it's going to be texture 1, and if we have 1, then it's going to be texture 2, and if it's going to be in the middle of 0 and 1, then it's going to be a little bit of both. That's how it works. And the result is, as you can see, this two textures overlapping each other. As you can see, looks cool. But I want to add color as well. As I said before, I want to have two texture, both texture, and on top of it the color, the changing color. And I'm gonna do just that. All we have to do in order to do that is the exact same thing as doing this, but just remove this first part and have this one right there. So I'm just gonna do this and control D for duplicate, uncomment. There's the multiply texture and the color. So remove this one texture with both texture, and everything is should be fine because we are already getting the color. I'm not stopping or removed the lines of code that generates the color, green color for us. Calling it green color isn't good thing, but I don't want to change it, so leave it as it is. Here we have it. As you can see, it's changing color, and we have the both textures as well. We have the first texture, we have the smiley face second texture, and we have the color red, green, blue, and white. And intensity is increasing and decreasing. This is, as you can see, really cool. It's going a bit dark, and the reason why it's going that dark because second texture smiley face has these area dark because it doesn't have anything here. It's transparent, and OpenGL draws transparent things black, so that's the reason why it's happening. One thing we can do to prevent it going to too dark, prevent it from going too dark, is will increase the intensity of the color. And the reason how we can do this is here we are subtracting and dividing it. I'm just going to remove this subtraction part. It shouldn't make that big a difference, but it should make it should still make somewhat difference. As you can see, it did make difference is a little bit better, but not going to bite. Obviously, we can do one more thing, and that would be don't divide at all, because here I'm just adding green into all of them, adding green into red, adding green into green, adding green into blue, and into white. But if I add white, wait a sec, maybe I should try adding white here. Maybe adding white would be more brighter. Okay, so I'm just here dividing it. I want to remove this part, dividing with 2. I don't want to divide it, and then I want to see what the result looks like. Oh yeah, this is bright. As you can see, this is bright. And it looks really nice. I want to see what happens if I add white color in this color of each vertices. Let's see what happens. Let us look. So I'm using exact same values for each color. I'm using the exact same values for each of them. Instead of just having green, I'm gonna have red, green, and blue. And I shouldn't have to make any difference over here because it's a bit 4. And let's see the result. Red, green, blue mix up and becomes white. So it should be white. So white basically makes it bright, I guess. It's not making that big of difference. It's getting a bit bluish and green mixing and becoming, well, yellowish. This one has exact same effect, blue and red. This one also has exact same effect, blue and red. Yep, it's becoming a bit more whiter. This one is getting a bit yellower because, well, this one is already red, green, blue. So the only difference it makes is that it gets a bit bright. And that's it. Now we are doing this, so you can see this is really cool. So to recap what we did today, we display we rendered a texture, and we rendered 2 texture, and we rendered 1 texture with color, and then 2 texture with color, and changing color. It's in a linear fashion, but it's still changing. And this is the coordinates and overview of the code. Just let me close this. That's the overview of the code.